Is your self-care routine turning you into a narcissist? You might be surprised to learn that some of your well-meaning self-care habits could be having unintended consequences. We all know self-care is crucial for our physical and mental well-being, but what if the very practices meant to help us are instead fostering self-centeredness? In today's video, we're diving deep into the booming self-care industry, exploring its hidden pitfalls, and uncovering how some self-care practices might be pushing us toward narcissism. So without further ado, let's begin. The rise of self-care. Self-care has become an essential part of maintaining our physical and mental health. It's the safety net that catches us when we're teetering on the edge of a breakdown, which for me seems to happen every Thursday at 3 p.m. But there's a side of self-care that's not as beneficial as it seems. It's an industry raking in billions of dollars, potentially driving a wedge between us and others, and it might be turning you into a narcissist. The business of self-care. Today, self-care is a massive industry. Searches related to self-care have quadrupled since 2014, with people looking for everything from breathing exercises to unconventional methods like coffee enemas. For those unfamiliar, that's when you put coffee up your butt. According to ASD Market Week, a major retail marketing trade show publication, the global self-care market has exploded from $10 billion in 2014 to over $450 billion in 2020. A 2018 study found that 88% of Americans reported actively practicing self-care, with 1 in 3 increasing their self-care spending in the past year. Why the boom? It's not surprising why self-care has become so popular. If you look around, things aren't exactly peachy. Salaries are stagnant, work weeks often stretch past 60, sometimes 80 hours, student debt is at an all-time high, housing is increasingly unaffordable, and there's a pandemic on top of all that. No wonder people are turning to self-care to cope. However, the industry has grown so large that almost anything can be labeled as self-care today, and much of it is extravagantly expensive. Think about it, a $50 jet lag face mask, a $600 professional-grade muscle massager, or even bringing a 25-pound emotional support turkey onto a plane. Popular self-care trends. Some of the most popular and profitable self-care products include poop stools, healing crystal jewelry, and a $1,900 low-level light therapy mask that promises radiant skin. Then, there are the familiar bath and body scrubbers, white noise generators, and countless other bespoke self-care remedies. Companies have taken terms like wellness and mindfulness and turned them into slogans to sell us billions of dollars worth of unnecessary products. The narcissism trap. But reckless spending isn't the worst of it. Some people are letting their self-care practices morph into self-centered behavior, and in extreme cases, it's fostering narcissism. Narcissists typically share traits such as an inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. Self-care advice online. Take a look at the self-care advice online. You'll see recurring themes. Speak your truth, set boundaries, be raw and authentic. While this advice can be helpful for passive individuals who are often taken advantage of, taken out of context, it can lead to negative outcomes. Expert opinions. Psychiatrist and author Dr. Samantha Boardman points out that self-care is important, but it can also be a slippery slope to narcissism, an excuse to push away friends. Clinical psychologist and relationship expert Harriet Lerner discusses the paradox of authenticity in her book, The Dance of Connection. She explains that while speaking out and being real are valuable, these actions can also shut down communication, diminish or shame others, or make it harder for people to connect. The consequences. When we always speak our truth without considering others, we risk alienating those around us. Keeping it real without kindness can hurt the people close to us. Setting unrealistic boundaries can isolate us from the world. The mantra, "No Thanksgiving," can be empowering for pursuing personal goals, but it shouldn't mean ignoring the impact of our decisions on others. Without gratitude, empathy, and a genuine desire to improve both our lives and the lives of those around us, self-care can turn us into narcissists. Self-care today has often been twisted into a relentless pursuit of comfort and self-gratification. The true roots of self-care. Interestingly, The earliest writings on self-care suggest that true contentment comes from shifting our focus away from ourselves and towards helping others. Jane Hardy, author of The Self-Care Project, traces the philosophical roots of self-care back to Socrates. Socrates emphasized knowing thyself and believed that understanding oneself was key to a good life. His teachings focused on self-awareness, reflection, and behavior change to lead more meaningful lives. Socratic self-care. Socrates encouraged his followers to reflect on their thoughts, emotions, and past decisions to change their behavior and live fulfilling lives. Plato described Socratic self-care as involving three essential aspects: relationships with others, behaving authentically, and treating oneself with kindness and respect. However, the primary purpose of self-care, according to Socrates, was to improve one's life and the well-being of the community. Activist roots. The concept of self-care as we know it today has roots in the 1950s medical field and was popularized by activists during the civil rights and women's rights movements of the 60s and 70s. Activists built systems to care for themselves and their communities, establishing food banks and health clinics to address care inequalities. This concept evolved to include preventing activist burnout and maintaining the struggle for equality. Modern self-care versus activist self-care. Compare today's multi-billion-dollar self-care industry to its activist roots, and the differences are stark. While you don't need to be a civil rights activist to deserve self-care, it's crucial to remember that self-care isn't just about prioritizing your needs above others. Without empathy and community engagement, even the best self-care practices will fall short. Diverse self-care practices. Ask 10 people how they practice self-care, and you'll likely get 10 different answers. Some take daily walks, others practice yoga, meditate, paint, or journal. What works for one person might not work for another. I'm not here to judge your routines or make you feel guilty about how you care for yourself. If you enjoy expensive facials and wellness retreats, more power to you. But keep in mind, self-care doesn't require an open wallet. Empowering self-care. Self-care should be an empowering act of will, rather than a pursuit of instant gratification. True self-care is about recognizing and addressing your needs in a way that enhances your well-being and resilience. It's not just about indulgence, but about making thoughtful choices that support your long-term health and happiness. This can mean setting healthy boundaries, practicing gratitude, engaging in regular physical activity, or pursuing hobbies that bring you joy. By focusing on sustainable practices that nourish your mind, body, and spirit, you empower yourself to handle life's challenges more effectively. Empowering self-care is about building a strong foundation for yourself, one that allows you to thrive while also maintaining empathy and consideration for those around you. By understanding the potential pitfalls of modern self-care and striving for a balanced approach, we can truly care for ourselves without losing sight of others. Let's make self-care about genuine well-being and community, not just self-indulgence. If you found this video informative, then don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in our next video.